Welcome back to the Avengers, right here at Comicstorian, your home for audio drama versions of your favorite comic books, video games, and movies. When we last left off, it was Avengers issue 16, and the vampires had removed Dracula from power and were having their own vampire civil war as they were attempting to kill off any vampires they did not deem to be true vampires. They had broken into the Avengers base and started to use the Ghost Rider as a weapon of mass destruction against anything that was getting in their way. And when we last left off, the Shadow Colonel, the individual leading the charge against the weaker vampires, had turned the Ghost Rider against the Avengers. He had told them that if he refused to kill the vampire children, he would use the Ghost Rider to murder the Avengers instead. This is the Comicstorian channel. We take the lore and storylines of your favorite pop culture universes and we break them down, making them easier to understand and giving them somewhat of a narrative audio drama. I hope you guys enjoy, and if you do, please consider subscribing. But it's time for us to give you issue 16 and 17. The last statement the Shadow Colonel made to the Ghost Rider was that he could murder the Avengers instead. And while this was going on, Robbie Reyes found himself in his own kind of personal hell. And that hell is the congested highway of Los Angeles. He honks his horn, shouting to move, and then he sighs as he leans his head on the wheel, asking for someone, anyone, to get him out of there. He'll even take the devil, giving him a deal. A voice tells him, "You'd better be careful saying stuff like that. You wouldn't want to go making any deals you couldn't live up with." And Robbie looks back asking, "What the hell are you doing here?" Meanwhile, back in the real world, Thor is struggling to hold the Ghost Rider back, stating, "His arms are nothing but bone! How is he so strong?" Thor then cracks Ghost Rider back, and as he lay there, Captain Marvel asks, "What did you just do, his arms?" As Ghost Rider bathes them in hellfire, Thor says, "It would appear that I've made him angry." The Ghost Rider gets back up, but before he could strike down Thor, Cap runs in, blocking the hit, shouting, "Fellow Avengers, we're here to help." Shadow Colonel then gets up, telling them, "I must depart before the entire building gives way. Come, Rider!" But before they could leave, Blade starts to shoot Sarge, telling Shadow Colonel, "I just shot your dog. You still feel like running away?" Shadow Colonel then says, "You should be the ones running, because my dog will shoot back." As Sarge charges headfirst into Blade, Shadow Colonel and Lady Cromwell begin to make their escape while the Avengers try to fend off the other legions of unliving. While Cap struggles with Ghost Rider, Captain Marvel flies in, telling him, "I'm sorry about this, kid." And she punches a hole through the Ghost Rider's torso, telling Robbie, "If you're in there, I'm gonna drag you out one way or another." Ghost Rider leans back forward, telling her, "You will know the power of the Planet Stare! You will know the sins of your people, Kree half-breed." Captain Marvel calls back to Thor, "Hey, can I get some help?" And Thor slams his hammer down on the Hell Charger, shouting, "I will not be bested by a car!" Meanwhile, at the undisclosed facility somewhere in Russia, Dracula is carted into a large room as Red Widow stands over a pile of bodies. She looks back, asking the Count if Dracula wishes to make a proposal. A horde of vampires then run towards Red Widow, and as she slays them, she says that these are his followers who came to Russia seeking asylum. And after she's done killing them, what makes her think that she won't do the same to him? Dracula tells her, "Because the contents in my head are worth far more intact than spilled. I've senators and lords in my pockets, sultans and bishops. People of great wealth and power are always the quickest to sell their souls for a chance at eternal life. Perhaps you would like to know the ones in your own government who claim allegiance to me." Red Widow pushes back at their body off her blade, telling him, "We already have spy masters. What else can you offer?" Dracula then says, "I will give you the Avengers." And Red Widow asks, "What would you be seeking to be rewarded with that? Have the Winter Guard crush the pesky Legion of Unliving for what? To place you back as the Lord of the Vampires again?" Dracula tells her, "I have no interest in that. I carried an entire people on my back, and all that it has left me with is tired. I only want a place for myself where I can remain alone for however many days I have left." Red Widow waves her arm, telling him, "That is a fair proposal. Allow me to present Moscow's counteroffer. These vampires were once your consorts, right? I imagine that there are many nights that you have spent enveloped in the naked embrace of the splendid specimens, exploring every inch of their smooth, undead bodies. Or so you thought. Red Widow slips the throat of one of the vampires, telling him, I will show you parts of their bodies that you have never seen. Tell me everything, every dark secret, everything of possible value, now, without hesitation. And then I will kill them quickly, and we will talk about the rest of your reward. Back in Madripoor, the Ghost Rider stares into Captain Marvel's eyes, telling her, once your face turns to ash, the others will join you in penance. And after a few moments of nothing happening, he stops. This is impossible. No mortal can withstand the penance stare. Captain Marvel charges up her fist quietly, asking, when did I ever say that I was mortal? She releases the energy right back into the Ghost Rider's stomach, blasting him away. He then starts to get back up, asking, you think you know punishment? You do not. The spirit will show you. The Ghost Rider's body begins to expand, ready to explode. And Thor grabs the Hell Charger, telling him, this is your last chance. And this, and you can go to hell in your own damned car. Captain Marvel and Captain America struggle to keep Ghost Rider in place, but that's when Blade bites down on Ghost Rider's neck. Ghost Rider slowly starts to return back to normal, with Blade spitting out a bit of hellfire, telling him, that ought to do it. Captain Marvel then asks, what did you just do? And Blade tells her, I'm a vampire, sort of. I did what vampires do. The Rider had a sickness in his veins, so I sucked it out. Anyone who makes a joke gets nunchucked to death. A short while later, as the smoke clears, Cap kneels down, asking Robbie, are you okay? And Robbie tells him, it wasn't me. I swear it wasn't me, Cap. I would never hurt you guys. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And after a short while, Captain Marvel, Captain America, and Black Panther talk amongst themselves off in the distance, with Robbie stating that they're going to send him home, aren't they? Blade then asks, do you think that it'll be a good thing? And Robbie says, I'm not sure what to think anymore. Am I an Avenger? Am I a hero? Or am I a monster? What did those vampires do to me? How did they make me into such an actual monster? And Blade laughs under his breath, with Robbie asking, what's so funny? Blade tells him, the writer never picks geniuses for host, does it? You got someone you care about, right? Someone normal? Someone still breathing? And Robbie says, yeah, you have to get out now. No matter what it takes, get out so that person can stay breathing. However, a short while later, outside Federal Penal Colony number 9, Lady Cromwell then asks, why are you here? Just to blow up a prison full of humans? And Shadow Colonel tells her, the rats aren't filled with grenades this time. Well, not the usual kind at least. We've thinned the herd plenty. We've weeded out enough vampires. It's time we made some new ones. And inside the prison, the rat bomber's rats begin detonating the blood bomb packs all over the prisoners. And within minutes, new vampires are born. As reports of a vampire outbreak reaches the Avengers, they rush over, leaving Robbie Reyes behind. And Robbie watches them leave, telling them, I've been told to go home. I'm not fit for duty. Hell, was I ever? And I didn't even tell them what I saw when I was out of it. I was trapped in a burned out hell highway. But maybe it was all in my head? Either way, it scares me to death. The worst part is how he smiled when it was ending. Inside Robbie's mind, he remembers as he started to regain control, shouting that this is it. And a voice laughed, telling him, sure, you're back in control. For now. But believe me, kid, you'll be back. And the King of Hell will be waiting. And the next time that you see me, we're going to be doing a little more than just talking. We're going to be having ourselves a little ride. As Robbie looked back, he saw Johnny Blaze. And he knew that Johnny was the greatest Ghost Rider that had ever lived. But now there's something chilling the bones. Maybe it's because he already knows that he already is more of a monster than Johnny ever was. Back over at the undisclosed Russian facility, Dracula cries, telling them, that's all I know. Every dark secret in the last 500 years. On the coffins of my children, I swear. Red Widow tells him that Moscow accepts his proposal and now take him away. As Dracula is carted back, Ursa Major says that was kinda sad. You hear all these stories about how Dracula is this big bad monster, but he's reduced to such a blubbering, pathetic mess. Makes you think. Monsters can get old too, huh? Red Widow then asks, where does one put an old monster when they need to never look upon it again? Where is the quietest, most peaceful place in all of their motherland? Ursa Major laughs, telling him that there's only one place that comes to mind. And the next morning, Dracula is thrown into the Chernobyl exclusion zone in Ukraine. The guard's laughing, telling him that this is exactly what he asked for. Nice and quiet. But later at the Federal Penal Colony, the Winter Guard lay defeated at the feet of the Legion of Unliving, with Red Widow simply waiting. Sarge says that Carpathian wants to know if they should turn the bear, and Shadow Colonel tells him that he has no use for bears. Spiders, however. Red Widow then asks, what do you want? Dracula, that can be arranged, but I'll need something in return. Shadow Colonel then asks, is your life not enough? And Red Widow tells him to just stick to killing vampires. He's out of his league with her. Shadow Colonel says, right. So you made a deal with the old king. What kind of deal could you offer the new one? But a voice then shouts asking if they would like to hear their proposal. Because it goes like this. Avengers assemble! Blade leads the charge, and the two groups quickly begin battling. Sarge leads up biting She-Hulk, telling her, I will tear the flesh off this one. She-Hulk then asking if he's the dog that hurt the Ghost Rider, because they brought someone to meet him. And just then, Thori flies in biting Sarge, yelling, Thundermaster Day, you think better murder dog than Thori? Thori, make murder now! Blade cuts through Shadow Colonel's minigun, telling him, there goes that. Your head'll be next. Shadow Colonel then drops the minigun as the two wooden spikes spring out of his wrist, and he fires a vision blast at Blade, telling him, you really are pathetic. You could have been a warrior in the New Kingdom, but instead, you'll just be another bloodstain on my boots. Shadow Colonel then punches, but Blade catches the punch as the stake stabs through his hand, and he says that he's gonna need bigger boots. Blade then drops down, cutting off one of Shadow Colonel's legs, telling him, on second thought, I take back what I said about your boots. Shadow Colonel kicks back with the stump, shouting, I'll kill you for that! You have no right to be drawing blood. Shadow Colonel kicks him again with another blast, but Blade grabs Boy Thing, whipping him up, slicing off one of the Shadow Colonel's arms. Shadow Colonel leaps forward, grabbing Blade, telling him, I only need one arm to tear off the dampier head of yours. As Shadow Colonel throws him to the ground, he tells Blade that he isn't even worth the fangs. And just then a voice says, yeah, about those fangs. And Robbie charges through, punching through Shadow Colonel's helmet. Blade gets it back up, setting Boy Thing on his shoulder, telling him, that wasn't bad, kid. Didn't think he'd be back. But stand back while this gets finished. Black Panther tells him, not like this. Your way isn't how the Avengers operate. And Blade laughs. Well, then it looks like I'm going to quit the Avengers. Black Panther shouts for him to wait. He's been working on a cure that could reverse, but before he could finish, Blade cuts Shadow Colonel's head clean off. And She-Hulk yells, too many! Hulk have to kill rats all at once! Black Panther then turns back, shouting that she needs to calm down. She's erupting with too much gamma energy. She's going to, but a few moments later, a gamma bomb goes off with Iron Man flying out holding Cap, telling him, I thought the Russians hated us before. We just blew up a Hulk in their backyard. Cap calls out that they just lost visual on the vampires. Does anyone have any eyes on it? And Blade radios in, telling them that the Legion got away again. Well, most of them. Thori stands over Sarge, shouting, Thori, king of all dogs! And while the Avengers go back to the mountain, elsewhere, Shadow Colonel sits with his head next to his decapitated body. Lady Cromwell says that the Dampier Blade is the one who did this, but the Colonel did have his part. They felt that he still deserved a place in the New Kingdom. A hand reaches down, picking up the head, and a voice says, that is for me to judge. After all, he is my son. Dracula holds up the Shadow Colonel's head, and Shadow Colonel asks, is this it? Is this it, Father? Is this the promised land? It's beautiful. Dracula tells him, yes, Zarius, you did well, boy. Dracula then tosses the head behind him, telling everyone, you did exactly how I wanted. You are free now, free to rebuild stronger than ever before. Welcome home, my bloody disciples. Welcome to the kingdom of the vampires. And there you have it, the conclusion to the Avengers storyline. Now, if you enjoyed this, please consider giving us a like on this video or subscribing to the channel to know when more videos are coming out. And don't forget, you can find us over on Twitter at Comicstorian to get early access over on Patreon. Thank you for your time.